day to you all. Welcome to First Lady Fashion and Style. How has your day been? Thank you for clicking on that channel. Today we'll be having a very interesting class today. We'll be making the bustier pattern, and then at the back side we'll be making the very beautiful loop, the rope loop at the back. So here I have my basic bodies. The basic bodies is usually the foundation for every of our draft. So if you don't know how to draft your basic bodies, please check this video. I have a whole detailed video on how to draft the basic bodies. And also I'm so excited to let you know that we'll be putting some of our draft on fabric, the corsets and the very few ones that we have made in the past. Once in a while, if you have subscribed, you'll get notification, and then we're going to work on it together on fabric. Like today, we're going to cut this draft and we're also going to sew it. You're going to see the whole process, and I'm so excited about that. So this is our back and this is the front. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of this interesting tutorial. Thank you. So this is the back and this is the front. So I'm sure that you understand the basics to this point. So right now we are going to go ahead, because for our bustier we need to contour the front, and then for the back we are going to be making the decorative loop at the back. So let's start the draft from the front. Yes, let's start the draft from the front. So here is my chest line, my bust point. Then this is the under bust, and here I have my length. That is the full length. So the first thing we want to do is let's take bust separation. For this that I'm using 4 inches. So the bust separation is 4. So I'm going to take 4 up here, and I'm going to take 4 up down here too. So I'm going to connect the line together this way. So for our dart intake, I'm going to take 0.75 on both sides. 0.75 on both sides this way. And then I'm going to connect it up here to the bust point, like that. So, okay. So now that we have done that, I want to take the waist measurement. So the waist measurement we're using for this draft is waist 33. 33 divided by 4, I'm going to have 8.25. So this is where my the waist measurement is 27. So 27 divided by 4 is 6.75. So here is my 6.75, but we have taken in a dart of 1 inch. So I'm going to replace the dart of 1.5, sorry, 0.75, 0.75, that is 1.5. So I'm going to return the 1.5, and I'm going to connect it this way to the chest line. So the difference between my front and my back here, as you can see, is 1.5. So I'm going to replace the 1.5 here because it's a bust dart technique, and I'm going to connect this bust dart all the way to the center. So the next thing we're going to do now is we are going to construct the bustier itself. So the first thing we'll do is on the shoulder here, I'm going to look for the midpoint here, and the midpoint, this is 4, so that's going to be 2, and then I'm going to connect it to the bust point. Now we want to construct the bustier, and then on this line here. Now I've always been saying it, if you want to construct any bustier, you have to determine how deep you want your neck to go. So for this I'm going to be using 6. Yes, that's how deep I want it to be. So I will come up by 2 inches from that 6, because I'm going to construct a sweetheart neckline. So for me to have a straight line from the top here, this is 7. So I'm going to come here and mark 7, because I want to have a straight line there, this way. So that is where on this line, that is I'm going to do my overbust tightening. So on both sides I'm going to go in by 0.75 and on this side I will take 0.75, and then I'm going to connect that 0.75 to the bust this way, to the bust point this way. It is very easy. If you don't understand, just watch it again. I'm sure you will understand it. It's very easy. So the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to leave this side. The underbust here, we have to contour the underbust. So the underbust, the round underbust measurement is 27. 27 divided by 4 is 6.75. So from the center front here, I'm going to measure the 6.75, and my 6.75 is here. So I'm going to measure what I have left, which is like 1.5. So I'm going to come in here, half on the center, from the center front, and then from this second line I'm going to put in my 1 inch, and then I'm going to use my ruler to connect it like that to that leg this way. So now that that is done, the next thing is I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect it to the top. My curve ruler this way. I hope you can see how my curve ruler is sitting. Please make sure yours is sitting that way. It's going to give you a very good curve. And then from the bottom here, this way, I'm going to curve it this way. Okay, so that is it. We are done with this side. This is our side, this is our bust that which we are going to close later. So the next thing, let's construct our neck now, the sweetheart neckline. Now it depends on you. You can decide to have yours straight. You can decide to just come down by 1 inch if you don't want it to be too deep and just connect it. It depends on you. But what I want to have here, I really want it to be deep. So for us to be able to do that, I need to open up this dart here. I need to open up this dart so that we can close. I want to close up this dart. And remember, before you can close up a dart, you have to open another dart. It's a principle. So here I'm going to close up this dart, the back coming to the front this way. The two lines have to meet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect it from that point to where I want my neck depth to be. So I'm going to connect it this way, and then I'm going to turn my ruler and connect it this way to the armhole here. I hope you can see to the armhole here. So when that is done, I can open it up now. I've constructed my neckline. So the next thing I'm going to do here is we are practically done with the front. You can see that it is very easy. It is very simple. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this bust dart here. If you don't close your bust dart, your front and your back measurement will not align. So please make sure you always close your bust dart if you are using the bust dart technique. And then I'm going to hold it down. Then by the side here, if it's not, definitely it may not match again. So I'm going to use my ruler to connect it and make sure that it's matching. Yes, bustier is very interesting and very simple to make. So I'm going to cut it out now because we are done. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to cut out this side, and then we are going to work on the back. If you have not subscribed, this is the time for you to click that subscribe button. What it does is that it encourages me to make more videos and more patterns. I will know that there are people there are friends and people that are interested in learning. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. That is what will encourage me to get up and make more videos because I'll be excited that there is someone out there that is learning. Thank you for subscribing. So that is it. So this is the center front and this is the side back. So you can write there center front, and here is the side front here. This is the side front. So I'm going to keep this pattern here because we are done, and then we'll move to the front pattern. So this is the front pattern here. So the first thing I want to do now is I want to align the back. Let's start with the bust separation here. That is 4 inches. I'm going to come in by this 4 inches. I want to have a straight line, so I'm going to come here and mark 4 inches, come down by 1 inch here, and then the dart intake for the back, I want to use 0.5. That is ½ inch on both sides, and then I'll connect this way, ½ inch on both sides, this way. So now for this draft here, I have to take in my back tightening because I don't want any form of gaping. So my back tightening, this is 0.5. I will connect it to the neck. So for the waistline, remember that our waist measurement is 6.75. So from the back, from the tightening here, that is 6.75. I'm going to do this, and then 1 inch the dart intake. I'm going to replace my 1 inch. Don't forget to replace your dart so that you don't have shortage. So I'm going to connect it like this to the side. Now for this pattern here, we went down by 7 inches for us to construct the bustier. So I want to match it up with the back, because when we join the front and the back, I want the side to align. So on this side here, I'm going to come down by the same 7 inches this way, and then I'm going to mark it like that. This is my 7 inches. So for us to construct the back, from that 7 inches, I want to go down by 1 inch. So I'm going to take it from this same 7 inches and then come down this way. I don't want the back to be straight, so that's why I'm coming down this way. So on the line here, on this line here, I'm going to rule it up to touch my new line. This is my new line here. So on this line, I'm going to tighten the back by 0.25 on both sides. I'm going to tighten the back by 0.25 and connect that line to that line here. This is called back tightening. Back tightening. So this is it. So now let's work on our loop. How we're going to construct the loop for the back. So we are working. This here will be gone. So we don't need it. We are not making a yoke. We don't want a yoke for this draft. So if you want a yoke, then you can keep that, but we don't want a yoke. So I want to do this so that you will not be confused, so that it will be clearer to you. So we are working on this part of the draft, just from here downwards now. So what we are going to do now is, you are going to determine how open do you want your back to be. So on the top here, I'm looking at 2.5 here. Let's just go in by 2.5. So remember that we are drafting just one side. So if I go in by 2.5, it means that I'm opening the back by 5 inches. So on the head part here, I'll go in by 1. So that means that on the top here, 5, and at the back, 2 inches. So I'm going to connect it this way. So now all this side here, we are going to cut it off. It's going to be open, and our decorative loop rope is going to be somewhere here. I hope you understand what I am saying. It's going to be somewhere here. So we are going to cut this off. We don't need it. So I'm also going to show you how to fix the modesty panel. Modesty panel is optional. If you want the back to be open, you don't need the modesty panel, but I just want to use the opportunity to show you how to fix your modesty panel. So I'm going to add the modesty panel to this draft. So now that we are done with this, I'm going to cut it out because that is all we need to do for the back. I'm going to cut it out now. So I will continue. So here we don't need that. So we are going to cutting the lower part now. I'm cutting the side. This is the side back, and then the arm here, and then the line for the back. So this is what we need for the back. Now, I like working with a dartless back. So I'm going to close this dart and I'm going to place this pattern on my fabric without the dart. So I'm going to close it up this way. So it's still going to have the shape of the dart, but it's not there. Please make sure you write here 2.5 and 1 so that when you are making your modesty panel illustration on how we are going to form our modesty panel. So this is what we will do. Now, since I'm attaching it to a slant this way, then it means that the edge must be of the same slant. But I'm going to come down here. I'm not going to start from the very top. I'm going to come down like 1 inch from the top. It's not going to start from the very top. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch from the top, and on the bottom side too by 1 inch. I don't want it to start from the very bottom. So now this is what we are going to do. Remember, we took out 2.5. So that means in all we took out 5 inches. I told you 2.5 on one side, 2.5 on the other side. That is 5 inches. And on the hem side, we took out 1 inch. So that is 2 inches for both sides. So this is what we took out from both sides. I hope you understand what I mean now. I'm ruling out the 1 inch. I don't want it to have the same length with the back. So as you can see now, this, if I add this to it, it's going to complement the other side. We took out 2.5 from here, and then the other side too. This is 5 inches. But I'm not going to leave it like this because I really want the modesty panel to go in a bit. I don't just want it to stand like that. I want it to go in a bit into the fabric after being sewn. So I like to add like 3 inches from here, including the sewing allowance. So I'm going to extend it 3 inches from here, including the sewing allowance. It doesn't matter. This side can be any shape. It can be straight, it can be slanted. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to add to it this way. So I hope you can understand. This is the original 5 inches and 1 inches. So this here is just the excess because I want the modesty panel to go inside the fabric. I don't just want it to hang. So I'm taking my time to explain so that you can understand, my beautiful people. So this is how it's going to be. This is it. This is how the modesty panel is going to be. But by the time I finish sewing it, it's going to go inside here, and the other one is going to come in here. This is the only part that is going to show. So right now what we are going to do is we are going to take all this pattern. I'm going to put it on the fabric, and then we are going to cut it out. This is the center front. So this has to be on fold. The fabric will be on fold here. So this here, we are going to cut 2, and then I'm going to add 2 inches allowance by the side, and to join this and this I'm going to add ½ inch. I'm going to add ½ inch on top because we are going to use the lining, so we are going to turn it in with the lining. So I'm going to put ½ inch on top for the turning, ½ inch to join, and then by the side 2 inches. This is going to be on fold because it's in front. The back side, I'm going to add 1/2 inch on top because I'm going to use lining, 2 inches by the side here. And then this place that we are going to put our decorative loop, I'm also going to have 5 inches, sorry, 1/2 inch. So the next thing we'll do now is let's go to our pattern, to our fabric. So right now this is what we have. I placed all this pattern, I placed them on the fabric, and then I cut out. I just thought I'd just show you this interfacing. So this is our interface. You can have the black, we have hairstay, you have the black color, you have the white color, depending on the material you are using. And this is a sample of wording. So why I said what I want to show you is that after using my interface, I used wording for the front of, just for the front, to cover the bust area. It's called bust padding, to pad the bust. It's to pad the bust here. If you don't want to use already made a cup for it, you can pad it, and I added interface to everything. I've also gone ahead to cut the back, you can see, and added interface to both my back and front, and the lining too. I cut the lining the same way and added interface to it. This is the Modesty panel that I cut out. So what I just did was I cut out the Modesty panel, I added interface to it, and then I turned it inside out. So right now what we are going to do is we are going to start from the front. So I want to show you this for the beginners and for those that are not sure of their joining. I did this mark here just to show you that for you to join your bustier, you have to be constant with this 1/2 inch when you are joining. If not, it will not form properly. So if you know that you are a beginner and you are not sure of the 1/2 inch, you can just use a pen just to mark it this way, and it's going to help you a lot. So right now I'm going to join this part together. I'm going to join the lining too, and then we'll continue from there. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to join this first one here. I want to show you how. So to join, make sure you put it together this way. And then you're going to hold the top. Make sure you are not pulling. What you just want to do is just to sew it into it, and make sure that there is no squeezed line. It's not squeezed. Follow the pattern, and make sure everything aligns properly. Make sure it aligns. So you can see it's not difficult, and when you are done, you give it a notch here on the underbust, and on this side too, you make sure you give it a notch. So that's going to help you. It's going to open up for you properly, and it's going to form well. You can see it's coming out beautifully well. So I'm going to sew the other side too. So when I'm done sewing this, I'm going to do the same thing to the lining, and then I'll show you the next thing to do. So right now I'm done with the sewing, and this is the lining. I did the same thing to the lining. When you are done, make sure you press the same line open this way. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to join the lining together. Make sure you take note of this center place. You can pin it down because that side has to align. So what I like to do is I'll pin down the major part here to the side, and then while sewing, this is another trick I like to use. I'm going to put my hemigum here so that by the time I sew it and I use my pressing iron on it, this side is going to stick and the lining will not come out. That is a beautiful trick. So please make sure you subscribe to this channel for more content like this. So I'm going to sew it down now and show you. So I'm done with the sewing. I'm just going to remove the pin, and I'm going to notch the center here. and every part this way. And then I'll turn it over. So I'm going to iron it. You can see it's already coming out beautifully well. So I'm going to iron it. So this is the outcome of a beautiful bustier. You can see. So the next thing we'll do now is we'll work on the back. So for the back, we'll need a decorative loop for the back. This is not the one you construct with the eyelet. This is the one we use the loop for, the decorative rope to make the loop. So what I did is, this here is about 1.5 inches. So I think this is easier to make this way. You can see how I'm folding it in. I'm trying to make the loop out of the fabric. So I measured out 1.5 this way, and then I'm going to fold it this way and fold it like this the second time, and then close it up because I want to have a neat border. So I'm going to put it here and I'm going to sew it on the edge. This is what I'm going to use for my rope, my decorative loop at the back. So I'm going to make it as tiny as I can. Okay, so I think I'm okay with this now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my fabric. This is the fabric I'm going to use, and I'm going to mark out 1 inch interval on this fabric. I'm going to mark out 1 inch interval. Yes, this is how it's going to face. I'm going to mark out 1 inch. So here I will leave out from the top, because I'm still going to turn this place in with lining. So from that side I will come down by 1. I'll come down from here by 1.5. So just to allow space here. So I'm going to start from here. So from here I'll mark 1 inch interval, 1 inch interval to create my loop, 1 inch interval. And then the loop I'll be using, I'm going to cut out 5 inches, and I've done that. So I'm going to cut out 5 pieces, 1 2 3 4 5, since I have 5, and I measured 2 inches each. You can see it's 2 inches. So I cut out 5 because I have 1 2 3 4 5 here. So this is how I'm going to sew it in. Now it's going to face this side, because by the time this is how it's going to face, by the time I turn it in with my lining, it's going to come out this way. So it's going to face me here. So the first one will start from here, and then I'm going to turn it this way to meet the second line this way. But I want the loop to interlock somehow, so I'm going to bring the second one on top of it like this, and then to the third line here. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So the first one will go in first from the first line to the second line. So this is the second line here. I'm going to put the next loop here and sew it down, and then the third line will come this way, and then the other one I'm going to put another loop this way. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to twist it to this side, because I just want it to intertwine in a way. So I'm going to put this one here, and then bring it to the next line, and then sew it down. I think I need one more. Okay, so you can see I'm done with the loop. So I've done the other side. This is for the two back. So by the time I sew it in with the lining, it's going to come out this way. By the time I turn it in with the lining, you can see it's going to come out this way, and it's going to look beautiful. So what we want to do now is we want to use our lining to cover up. So this lining, this is for this here. So I'm going to use my lining to turn it in. Okay, so this is the lining. So I'm going to sew this upper part first. I'm going to sew on 1/2 inch because I left 1/2 inch allowance to join it. I'm going to sew it down on 1/2 inch. So you can see it now. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in with my, there's something I need to show you here. I'm going to attach my Modesty panel here, and I'm going to turn it in with the lining, and also I'm going to use this. This is my redling boning. I'm going to use my redling boning here because I want this place to have a very good structure, so that by the time you pull the rope, this place will not be wiggly waggly. It's going to have a very good structure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it this way. So this is the fabric now. Now my Modesty panel will come here because after sewing it's going to be here. So my Modesty panel is going to come in here. Then the redling boning is going to follow this way, or let me put it, cover it this way, and then my redling boning is going to come this way. So I'm going to sew it down. I'm still sewing on the 1/2 inch sewing allowance I left for the back. Redling boning, you can sew it with your machine. You can sew it with your machine. So I'm going to place it directly on it, and I'm going to sew it down. I'm still sewing on 1/2 inch. So now I'm done sewing. I'm just going to give this place a notch. The redling boning is going to help to give it structure at the back. So I'm going to turn it out this way. So you can see my Modesty panel has been attached, and this place is now feeling very firm, very firm. So by the time you wear this and attach your rope, everything is going to look firm and beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to complete the other side here. I'm also going to add my redling boning here on this side with my lining. This part does not have Modesty panel, so it's just going to be my lining here and my redling boning here. So I hope you understand, and I hope you're enjoying the class so far. Please, if you like the content you are seeing, encourage me by subscribing so that we can bring more beautiful tutorial. So that I will be encouraged to make more videos. So it takes time to make videos. I'm going to close up this space, and we are almost done. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to turn it in, so you can see our loop is out. You can see the back. So that was why I said I added more allowance so that this can go in. So you have to measure it. We left 5 inches for the back, so it has to be 5 inches. So I'm going to iron this now, and then for the rope we are going to use here, I have worked on the rope. We are going to cut strip that we're going to use, and you can use a bias strip if you want to. So this is the rope I'm going to use for it. You can use a bias strip if you like. So what I did was I measured out here. I measured 2 inches, and I made sure that I folded the 2 inches in properly. Let me show you how I folded. This way, just the same way I made the loop. Make it as tight as you can, as tight as you can, and then I folded it in. So you can cut depending on how long your back strip is. So I'm going to sew it all the way, and I'm going to cut out the excess. Okay, so this is the rope I'm going to use for the back. So the next thing we are going to do is I'm going to bring in my front and my back. I'm going to take the bust, the measurement for both the bust and the waist, and then I would join the sides together. This side, I'm going to do this, and I will sew it down here. I'm going to do the same thing for the front and the back, and then I'll take my measurement and I will join it at the side. This is the outcome of the bustier. You can see it looking very beautiful, very nice. So I'm still going to add the down part to this design. It's going to have a gown. So let's look at the back. This is the back. This is the Modesty panel, and this is the loop at the back. It's looking very beautiful. So if you want to see other content where I put this design on fabric, make sure you subscribe. Those that have subscribed, you will definitely get notification when I put other designs on fabric, and we're going to learn not only to draft but to sew together. So if you want to be part of this family, you want to see how we do our drafting and also our sewing, then please make sure you subscribe so that you'll be notified. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.